So participants are joining. So let's wait for 1 minute.
Yeah.
So I think we should start now. So hi all, good afternoon and welcome to Tantu webinar. So Mr. Sanjeev will introduce our panelists and also say a few words about Tantu and OCS. So Sanjeev ji, it's up to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you all to this webinar. This is our fourth webinar. The topic of this webinar is textiles and apparel sourcing post-COVID-19 era. This is organized by Tantu and Online Clothing Studies. Let me tell something about Tantu. Tantu is alumni associations for students who have been passed out from Textile College of Srirampur and Baharampur under Calcutta University. And our website is tantutextiles.com. Tantu, as a non-profit organization, what we do, we help for textiles and apparel industry across globe. We do a lot of seminars, we do a lot of magazine publishing, we do some scholarship for students who are into this textile and clothing studies and all. Every year we do a lot of seminar for textiles and apparel industries. But this year, due to this COVID, we cannot make any kind of physical seminar. That's the reason this year, Tantu organized 6 consecutive seminars based on textiles and apparel industries. So today is the 4th seminar and we will cover sourcing. Before going into the details of this sourcing seminar, I just wanted to give you some insight of this textile apparel industry in India. As per Clothing Manufacturing Association of India, CMAI, almost 84% textile and clothing sales are deep. 22% factory only in operation till end of the May. And out of these 22% factories, 40% are making only PPE, personal protective equipment. By AC Nielsen survey, sales is down by 5% at end of May, and only 10% stocks are sold, whereas there is less than 1% sales for luxury item in apparel area. Again, for this Clothing Manufacturing Association of India, apparel market was 6.5 lakhs crore till end of 2019. And now, which is shrunk by 15% by May or June, and it is predicted that the sales will be down by 85% by end of 2020. Now, in terms of manpower utilization and GDP, for India's GDP, 4 to 5% GDP are contributed by this textile and apparel manufacturing and their business. And out of this, 12 million people, 12 million, I quote again, 12 million people are involved into this manufacturing. And out of this 20 million, 12 million, 50% are from migratory in nature. They are coming from different states to work into this industry. But there is one small good news by Mr. Sundaram, who is the chairman of Indian Technical Textile Associations. What he explained that, 20.2 million PPE are manufactured within the same frame. So that is little offset by these challenges, this kind of system. As per Mr. Selvaraju, he is the spokesperson South Indian Mill Association. 30 to 40% fall consumption in textile and apparel industry. And last, one information I just wanted to give, the Confederation of Indian Textile Industry, CT, the chairman, Deacon, he explained that 50% revenue loss has happened already, and there will be a restarting problem. There will be a very tough time, and it is predicted that it will take 1.5 years to come into the same position of last year. So with these kind of challenges, I just wanted to introduce you to give us some ideas. What are the challenges we are facing in this textile industry and apparel industries? How can overcome? What is the motivational factor? What are the cash flow constraints? What is the supply chain disruption? how consumers are buying, what is the buying nature, sentiments. So I will be inviting two speakers today. The first speaker, Vaishali Yadav. She is the head of fashion business for FirstCry.com. She has more than 22 years of experience in retail and manufacturing area. And some of these retailers are Vishal, Carrefour, Future Group, and she also worked with a lot of different manufacturing company. One of them is Adya Fashions. So I welcome Vaishali for our as a prominent speaker. Now
Thank you.
I wanted to also invite another speaker, Mr. Sanjay Shukla. Now he is currently working with Triberg, and he is there for Triberg last 25 years. Before that, he had vast experience with manufacturing as well as retail. In manufacturing, one of the prominent company, he worked in TCNS, and also he worked in Oli Retail. So I welcome Sanjay Shukla for this seminar.
Thank you. Thanks, Anil.
So after this introduction, I think it will be a very important and interesting understanding on this webinar. I will hand over this phone now to Vaishali to take over. Before that, I just wanted to understand if you have any questions. If you have any questions, just put this questionnaire in question and answer section, and we will take up after their presentations. Thank you so much. Vaishali, it is now your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thanks, Prasanta. And all the 64 participants who have joined the webinar. So most welcome. I'm going to share my screen and take you through a couple of interesting pointers. These are research-based studies which have been across to get to know as to what is the situation and how are we going to face it and how are we supposed to handle it. Yeah. So I will share my screen and take you to the presentation. I hope it's visible for everybody.
Yes.
All right. So the impact of COVID-19 on textile and apparel industry. We know COVID has not just been the biggest disruptor to life and livelihood, but it's also gone a bit beyond. It has been a game changer in the industry today. Something that we never expected to happen, something which came all of a sudden, something that has made us halt and think about as to where in terms of humanity are we going wrong and where in terms of business do we need to get cautious about, right? So anything that stops or disrupts always is an opportunity in one form or the other. It is definitely a disruption, but at the same time, it is an opportunity as well to stop, think, and then move, take our further steps. Despite pockets of reopening, the net consumer optimism has decreased, and consumers do feel that this is going to be a long-lasting impact of COVID. Why? Because we open one day, the next day we see something else happening and we close down. There are factories that open one day, suddenly there is, the number of people being impacted high increases and there is a shutdown. There is something or the other which is going back and forth. It's a very uncertain pattern at this given point in time. Now we know that Indian retail industry, Indian apparel and textile industry accounts to 4% of global textile and apparel market, 2% to the India GDP and 15% to countries' foreign exchange earnings, which sums up to be around 45 million people employment, right? So the impact is huge. Impact across the industry is a very big impact for India. Let's look at import and exports. I won't touch too much about it. We have Sanjay on the panel who will speak a little more about it, but I will touch, just the overview of the same. The pandemic has affected a lot of exports, right? So India used to export a lot of merchandise, and Europe has been impacted big time. US has been impacted a lot. And thus, you know, with other countries, the cancellation of orders are a lot. We need to understand that while we were just preparing to launch a beautiful spring summer, what happened is that there was a halt. We didn't even reach to the peak of the launch or the sales, and we had to shut shops, right? We had to shut things. Whatever good happens, bad happens, there's also a good side of it. So the government is trying to help a lot because the handloom sector and many people's livelihood with the weavers, dyers, tailors, designers, exporters, raw materials, producers have been majorly hit. So government is trying to help, but nobody has deep pockets, right? It is going to have an impact. The demand and supply will always be correlated to the economic trends, and that's how the economy flourishes or falls. And we can't turn a blind eye to it. We can't say somebody from outside will come and help us and take us out of this whole situation, because it's not just us. It's everybody who's impacted. It's the world who's impacted. It's not just India, it's not just China, it's not just US, it's not just Europe, it's everybody. Now let's go to the next and understand that how does it impact? You know, what are the other things that gets impacted? Whenever there's a halt, the cash flow constraints come in, right? Because there are profitability issues, there is a sharp decline on demand and supply, and thus the cash flow gets distorted. Government is definitely ensuring that fair enough, please open up, please start things. We will ensure that we will have certain cleaning and safety norms in place. What is that for? That is for ensuring that the economies lift up again. We all are able to stand back on our feet, and we all are able to come back and start our daily livelihood, right? So it is a battle between life and livelihood. What has happened once more? The sales in the domestic market have been disrupted big time because the stores are shut. You know, as I said just a couple of minutes back, what has happened is that as soon as we were going to go into the peak of spring summer, our shops shut, our business shut, everything came to a halt. Now when we are slowly grappling and opening up, we are moving to a completely different season. Now what happens during this time is that one, your silhouettes change, your requirement changes, the buying pattern changes, the colors change. Through the season, there's a lot of impact in terms of the buying behavior changes, right? At the same time, we have a huge amount of built up of stocks because people are used to working in advance, forecasting, building, not being late. Because you see, every year when you have to up the game, you want to prepare in advance. This time, the advanced planning has not gone the right way because a lot was planned, but at the same time, a lot did not sell. So there was inventory, but that inventory did not push. That means there are stock issues. There are stock issues of both kinds. One, when we halted, and now when we are starting up. Now when we are starting up, what is the issue? The issue is that all the while we know that our apparel life cycle is around 120 days, right? If not less in certain areas. So it is going to take us as much of time to come back into shape. When the factories started up, the factories were allowed to open only 10% of its capacity. Yeah, they were only allowed to make masks. Then came after 2 weeks where the government allowed that now you can open the factory with 30% of capacity. You can start working on essentials. Then it came to another phase where now things have started to shape up. But even though as we speak right now, and we are trying to stand up and we are trying to shape up, what is happening is that from the back, the supply chain is disrupted. So thus, one side we have stocks with retailers, which are summer. On the other side, we do not have enough supply to sustain through the next season. Now, let's look at the supply chain a bit in detail. What is happening is that the garment manufacturers need to look at the local sourcing and manufacturing opportunities. A lot of people were importing fabrics, accessories, a lot of autumn winter merchandise, jackets, fabrics comes from various countries which are not from India, right? It comes from outside. So what's happening over there, that the supply is very less. The supply chain of the upcoming autumn winter collection is getting hit. There is a problem in a free flow. So even though we want to start and we want to move ahead, there are certain issues which have put a disruption in the whole cycle. Now, at the same time, while we are doing this, we know that there's a lot of unemployment, right? There's a lot of distress which is there, due to which every consumer's habit is also changing, right? Which means that, you are looking at a different pattern of consumption. We will talk about a little more detail on consumption in just about a few minutes. But I just wanted to touch base on the supply chain disruption over there. So there is a roadblock there, right? Now, what is happening, another thing that is happening with all of us is that we are moving to lesser touch points. We are moving because it's difficult to move out and go to a store and pick up merchandise. We are ordering online. So thus, shopping is happening. You are, clothing is the second skin for a human, right? And so the demand is obviously there, but the demand is disruptive. So it's not that we are going to go out of business. The business will always be there. It is the second skin for a human, right? So that is never going to go out, but it is disruptive. It's disruptive because we came to a halt for some unforeseen reasons. Now, let's look at the consumer sentiments and buying pattern. You know what's happening with all these worries which are going around, our moods have influenced the decisions, right? Which has stopped us from going and doing impulsive shopping. Let me buy this footwear also, it looks nice. Let me buy just 6 clothing, it's fine. Those things have changed. We are not being impulsive. We are being more thoughtful as a consumer. Please step out of your manufacturing shoes, off the shoes of what we are in the business, and go. We are also a consumer. We are also a customer, right? So from that point of view, aren't we ourselves a bit cautious about how much we need to use and how much we necessarily need to have? We are questioning ourselves today. We are definitely telling us, is that more important than the other things which are there? And we are weighing it. There is an increased price sensitivity. There is a trade-off between the perceived value of consumers consuming something to the disutility of paying for it. So what does that mean? It means that we want to indulge, we want to look good, right? We want to cover our aspirations. So we will do that, but when everything is normal. Today we are questioning, is that really important at this point in time when we are fighting the battle about life and livelihood? So thus, we need to be able to recognize what are the today's sentiments. There's one more very interesting thing which is happening, which is the endowment effect. What is the endowment effect? Endowment effect is when you try something, right? And You do not want to try something that the others have tried because they have touch points. So this is a challenge that not only brick and mortar would have, but also an e-commerce would have. And they would really need to think about as to how we will look at our repackaging. And thus you must have seen initially there were hardly any product returns. Why there were hardly any product returns? The product returns were less because one, the pandemic was very high. We didn't know whether these touch points will get the virus back from one chain to another and get spread. And thus there were a lot of panic and a lot of attitude which came across, and thus slowly and slowly it is now equalized, normalized, and we have moved up with that thought. It's okay now. Right? So the business has got a little more organized, a little more started, a little more accelerated. There is a great emphasis on the sentiment for buying local for various reasons. For various reasons which have happened, which has probably caused the pandemic, probably caused other disruptions. People are really getting into that, yes, we need to go back to the handloom sector. Government is also helping it. We need to, we need to be healthy in every possible way. And thus we need something which is very close. Then there is an increase in virtual workforce, right? None of us, especially in our industry, we were never ever comfortable in building a range virtually. Every designer had to see the yarn, the thread, the Pantone. Even though they had Pantone books, they wanted to see every color the way it was, every shirt shade the way it was, then give an approval. A design today is being digitally approved, right? You see different on a laptop, you see different on your phone, you see different on a digital media, right? In various digital surfaces also, the color seems to be a bit different. But can we stop that? No, we can't stop that, because if we stop that, it will cause another disruption for us to move forward. Thus, it is the time wherein we need to get virtual. How many webinars did we have earlier versus what we're having today? Right? We were all used to podiums, and we were all used to walking around, and we were all used to personalized communication. But today we are adapting to all these various mediums, right? Why is that so? It's because we don't want things to stop. We want the business to move ahead. We want certain things to do. And let me tell you, this is going to be a complete revolution in our lives. This is an opportunity that we never ever thought. We always thought we had to go to workplaces and work, else the work will not get done. Today, that whole map, that whole sentiment has changed, because you're able to do so many things which were a hindrance before, which are no more an hindrance today, because we have been able to overcome it. Now, there is this very, very interesting graph. I just love this graph. You know, this is a shopper behavior effect, which was conducted by Accenture. They conducted it in two parts. One was done in March 19 to 25th, and then the comparison was done in April 2nd to 6th, right? When first lockdown came in and the second lockdown came in, and then they did a bit of research. Now, if you look at this, apart from the necessities that we were buying, initially it was hoarding of necessities, right? It was panic buying, as we call it. We were only looking at essentials, and we were not looking at discretionary categories. But over a period of time, what has happened? We saw in the second phase that the shoppers, one, are getting cost conscious. That means pricing is a key. They are getting closer to the neighborhood stores. What does that mean? Proximity or delivery needs to be thought about. What is the third thing? Doing fewer shop means what? That means your width needs to be crisp. Your depth needs to be larger because you're trying to shop more in one place. Even on e-commerce, we have seen a pattern that a customer's basket has increased. Why is it increased? Is because at one given point in time, they have increased not just the assortment, but also the essential stocking that is required. This is both true in terms of basic wear and clothing versus the essentials which are required, right? So we are getting a little more into relaxed clothing. We are getting a little more into lounge clothing. Today I sit in front of you pretty relaxed in, a very comfortable wear. Probably the same thing I will go down to collect my courier or, to collect milk outside, right? So our clothing needs are changing. It is very important to note that and thus get these changes in our assortment very, very quickly. So just summing it up and, keeping all the views in perspective, what do we need to do? We very, very clearly need to do is that we need to reduce touch points, right? So by reducing touch points, you get more digital. When you get more digital, it is not only an e-commerce, but it is also digital in your stores, right? Where you want to reduce the touch points. You want the customer not to be interacting too much with suppliers, but making a quicker decision by having the right specifications. Earlier, if you realize a couple of years back, it was very, very difficult for an apparel to say that, no, e-commerce is going to go bust. Why is it going to go bust? Because, a consumer loves the touch and feel. We are not going to be able to sell on e-commerce because there is no touch and feel. Let me tell you, first thing that went off was in, the biggest fundamental in our retail was location. Location today is just a map. Second thing that have just completely gone off is the comfort of buying and understanding specifications over a digital platform and picking up merchandise. Trust me, you and me, how many of us have moved to that platform? I think mostly all of them. And if all of us can, we are a reflection of the customers that we have. So is it something different? No, it's just that we need to move towards the right technology that we need to make our business better. Today, I'm sitting in my house and getting a range presentation done, which is virtual. We go get onto a platform where there's a designer, there's a buyer, there is a manufacturer, there's a fit technician, and virtually we meet together in a digital platform and we give approvals of the right fit, of the right color, of the right specifications, right? So we have moved to the next platform completely. Then what is the next thing? The next thing is to have a shorter fashion and supply chain. Now, what does that mean? It means that earlier we used to plan a lot more in advance. But this time with a halt, it has definitely taught us that we need to have shorter lead times. We need to be able to make quicker decisions very close. Sorry. We need to be able to take quicker decisions very closely, and we should be able to move much, much faster. So quickness of time is extremely important. Improving our quality and pricing is another very important thing. People are moving towards sustainability. People are moving towards having longevity. What is sustainability? It is about having longevity and something that will not harm your atmosphere, right? So that is very, very important. And thus also getting that at not a very expensive price, because affordability is a question. So to get the right pricing in, we need to move towards a lean retailing as a future trend. What do I mean by that? We should not be hoarding, right? There should be a quick in and a quick out. So pace, price, depth, width, thinking of width, which is shorter, and getting digitalized. These are essentials for us across the business platform. It is as true for a retailer and as true for a manufacturer, because touch points have to reduce across. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaishali. It is very good, very insightful, and a lot of information you have shared with us. Now, I will be requesting Sanjay to give his view on different aspects of this sourcing. Mainly, if he can focus on a lot of challenges we are facing, at least for the exporter who are manufacturing for exports. And if you can cover something about the startup, startup company who already are into the different field of textiles and manufacturing startup, what they should do. Is there anything, investment or help from government support that, manufacturer can get some encouragement and motivations, or how this manufacturer retailer take some meaningful measure steps to overcome this kind of challenges, so that, they will be coming back in the same position what they were. So I request Sanjay to give you thought in this, and I'm handing over this to you. Thank you, Sanjay.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Sanjay here, and thanks Sanjeev and Prashanta for having me on this panel. Thank you, Vaishali. Very comprehensive presentation, and I think a lot of food for thought for everybody. Thanks for putting that out there. Now, from an export perspective, honestly, as Vaishali also mentioned, unprecedented. Everybody was caught unawares. Nobody, of course, can plan for anything of this sort. So Sanjeev, you asked me from a manufacturer's point of view, and I think we should certainly address that, because today, as we speak, manufacturers are the one who are left holding the ball at the end of the day. Being in a buying house, I've been dealing, and we've got manufacturers of all kinds, of all sizes, of all business turnovers, of all capabilities. And honestly, let me start from the manufacturer who is a small time. So I'll take an example. Let's say somebody who does women's wear, fashion women's wear. So in what situation is that exported today? What has really happened in this situation, we've seen, is that demand and supply both have collapsed all of a sudden at both ends. It's a situation that no one could have imagined. There is no demand, there is no supply. Stores are closed, there's lockdown, factories are closed. Now the factory that I spoke about is today sitting with a minimum of 30 to 35% unshipped inventory. That's in his stock, right? That's number one. His biggest concern today is, how should I get rid of shipments that are ready, that are packed, that were ready to go before the store shut? So that's his number one concern. And negotiations, discussions are going on with the buyers, either in the US or Europe. The fact is that their stores are shut. They are not able to take everything that they ordered. So there is a dilemma. But what I see as a buying house, that the buyers are honestly trying their best to help the situation. They are working with the factories on three aspects. The first aspect being, okay, you've got goods to ship. We can take it from you. It's going to come to us much later than what we had planned. We are going to be able to sell it. Instead of $20, we're going to sell it at $12. How can you help reducing the price? So we are talking a discount situation where factories are saying that, okay, let me offer a discount of 10%, 15%, or 20%, get rid of this merchandise, clear out my inventory, and ship the goods. So that's a situation which some of them are taking. Some of the buyers, what they're doing, Sanjeev, is that they're telling the factories that, hey guys, hold on. Stores are not opening. We are already towards end of June. Stores are going to start opening only, let's say, mid of July, end of July. And that has been actually pushed out because of what we saw in the last few weeks in the US, where, everybody came out on the streets due to the unfortunate incident, and a lot of stores that were planning to open had to shut down. So things have pushed out, timelines have pushed out. So some of the buyers are talking to our suppliers and saying that, guys, don't panic, hold on. You've got goods, we will take them. We'll take them after 30 days, after 40 days. So can you hold those goods for us? Can you keep them there? So those discussions are happening, and a lot of factories are saying that, of course, we don't have a problem. We've got goods ready. We are going to hold it. It's going to impact our cash flows in a big way, but it's better than getting a cancellation. So, having said that, ultimately, to your point, Sanjeev, the factory today is in a dilemma. They do not have a way forward. They are stuck in the middle, and whatever they had produced, they're sitting with that. Now, if a factory, let's say 20 crores, I've been speaking 20 crores turnover. If you're sitting with 30%, 25% of goods ready and not able to ship, what do? You do not have a bailout package from the government. All they've done is that, okay, come to us, we'll increase your credit limits. You can borrow more. But does anyone want to borrow more in a situation where demand is uncertain, where you don't know that today if I get a 50,000 piece order, you'd be thinking that should I accept this order or should I not? If I accept this order, and God forbid, looking at the way things are going in India, if there's another lockdown, what's going to happen? I'm in a situation where I've probably paid for the yarn or paid for part of the fabric. I've got a 50,000 piece further liability on my head. Am I going to be able to ship it? Now, there are no easy answers for all of this. There are no ready answers for all of this. And we've got a manufacturing community, honestly, that's on the throes of a dilemma. They don't understand which way to go. And in this situation, it's very important that all communication channels be open. So what we've seen, as Vaishali also mentioned, is that communication channels with the buyers, communication channels with the suppliers, with the mills, all of them are open. People are talking. People are trying to work out, packages for each other, trying to see that how can we work with the supply chain given the current limitations. So that's very important. And I think that's what is keeping people in the hope of a better tomorrow, because, they are all today in what I call the survival mode. Everybody is sitting tight. Everybody is just waiting to say that, yes, the stores will open. Now, let me give you another example, Sanjeev, and, to the audience. Let's take the case of Germany, interesting contrast compared to the US. The Germans were very methodical, and they were able to control, their curve, as they say now. The curve was controlled pretty well. The, stores started opening up much earlier there. We've got a few customers in Germany, and believe me, they've worked out their buying plans in such a nice way, in such a smooth way, that we've got new businesses coming. We've got, packages with the factory done and dusted about the current shipments. And some of them have been so ethical that they have even aired garments at their own expense so as to not disrupt the supply chain or working capital of the suppliers. So all kinds of things are happening, positive, not so positive, but ultimately, Sanjeev, it's a matter of survival for the manufacturer. The way I see it, manufacturers have to weather the storm for the next, I would say, till about September. So easily for the next 3 months before we get some kind of clarity on what the future beholds. So that's as far as the situation that, the manufacturer is today, in this position. You had asked a lot of other questions, Sanjeev. So I think there was one of them related to a startup. What was that?
Yes, maybe in the same field, some
Yeah.
startup, they need a lot of motivation, encouragement from different fields. So in this situation, how they will work? What are the different steps and measures they should take? That is what are the questions.
Okay.
Uh,
So it's not a great time, to be honest,
yes.
to start up a business. That's something that everybody would say, any sane person would say. But there are a lot of people who are also looking at opportunities to start up. And what are those opportunities? As Vaishali mentioned, and I think you also spoke about, people are talking about personal care products. People are talking about fabrics that have antiviral, antimicrobial finishes on them. People are coming out with new products. Masks are being made in different ways. People are trying to make scarves and put in masks in them. Innovation. The PP industry in India, what we spoke about, was non-existent 3 to 4 months back. But necessity is the mother of invention. So the PP story as it has unfolded, Sanjeev, is the biggest startup we've seen right in front of our eyes. So the enterprise value of a manufacturer or of an entrepreneur is so high that all they need is a scent of an opportunity and people rise to the occasion. So what opportunity has this pandemic thrown up? It's thrown up wide open the field of personal hygiene, clothing that's close to you, as Vaishali said, the second skin. So how can I get a shirt that I wear and I go out, let's say, in a public transport and reach my office, but I feel a little secure because I know it's got an antiviral finish to it, or the mask that I'm wearing, has a protection on the top. Again, it's treated very nicely, and I feel secure wearing that. So there is no end to innovation. Startups emerge from moments of crisis. We are certainly in the biggest crisis of our lives. And I do believe that innovative people will come out with the right product. If we take a little step outside our industry and if we look at the opportunities that people have had in the tech world or the virtual world, for instance, as Vaishali mentioned, we are holding fashion shows virtually. We are holding. There was an exhibition held by EPCH. It was all done virtually. There were 188 or 200 participants in that fair, gems and jewelry and accessories. People came, walked to the store, saw the product, picked out nice things, and perhaps some businesses also happened. So this is also a startup, Sanjeev. People are contemplating virtual showrooms. I've got a lot of videos and a few proposals where you go into, let's say, a showroom in Tirupur for a factory, right? We can't go there. But what if he takes a showroom, does it up nicely, shoots it nicely? For each product has a video embedded in that, and I've seen those. You go, you click, go to the jacket, for instance, click on the video on the jacket. If there's a nice presentation talking, hey, this jacket is fleece, it's got 280 GSM, it's pretty warm, it's got this treatment. It talks to you. So again, that's a startup. We've created something out of thin air. So I believe that every crisis throws up huge number of opportunities. It's just time to take a deep breath. Think of what's the next moment. What can I do in this moment? What can I offer to the industry or to the professionals out there that could be taken as a startup product? So there are 3 or 4 examples, Sanjeev, I just gave you, which have emerged in the last 3 or 4 months, which we perhaps would not have thought of before.
Correct. So thanks, Sanjay. Now, in line of your this thinking process of startup, now you know that for sourcing model for Western country, for US, Europe, and other country, there are a lot of norms. Social compliance audit, factory evaluations, and a CT-PAT, and a lot of hazard analysis. So lot of obligations. Now, do you think that for this current exporting model will be little change that hygiene factor or hygiene audit will be another parameter that has to be put into this all manufacturing company by the importer or client, and will this add cost of the product? Do you think that this will be reasonable in this moment, or it should be combined or integrate with any other audit process? This hygiene
Okay.
factor, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good question.
Yeah.
And honestly, uh, I'll be very honest with you. None of our customers has today spoken about it as we sit here today. Nobody has said that, okay, your shipments are going to come to us. Why don't we sanitize everything? Why don't you get the sanitization tested, give me a report, and then we ship it? Because of a few reasons. And by the time the goods ship from India and they reach, let's say, Germany or the US, it's easily 20 to 30 days before the goods hit port if it goes by sea. Now, whatever this virus is, I haven't read anywhere that it lasts 28 days or 30 days. So I think that's one factor that's in everybody's mind, to say that 12 hours, 24 hours, the virus could be out and gone. And by the time our goods get there, we're all safe and good. So nobody has bought that up, Sanjeev, to be honest with you. But you never know. People may start talking about it. People may start planning some kind of a measure for it, from outbound shipments. Certainly what we've been doing is that all our courier parcels that we are receiving are certainly getting sanitized, and I'm sure Vaishali's office also must be doing similarly, and everybody else. They are being sanitized, kept in a safe zone, and being distributed to associates only after a certain time period. So that's as far as inbound couriers go. For shipments, as of now, I've not heard of anything, Sanjeev.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, for your insightful and comprehensive discussions. Now, one of the questions I will be asking Vaishali, if you can just, Vaishali can reply this. That question comes from this audience. Is there any outlook on sales behavior predicted in India?
So
And
this
will
is
it,
end of season sale.
no, I think now we should start some question answer sessions. This we have already done 50 minutes, so we'll have some few minutes with us. So few questions are here, so we can start this question answer session. So, should I repeat this question again?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. It is regarding end of season sale or a normal sale.
So it is.
Is it selling of goods or end of season sale? Because I read that question and I thought it was regarding end of season sale, because we are inching towards end of season sale right now, right? So keeping both in mind, um, uh, whether it's an end of season sale or it's a normal sale that we are talking about, we need to understand that people are thinking before what they are purchasing. Price is an important factor. I covered both these points in the presentation. And by understanding both, if there is a great price and it's covering your aspiration and you have the affordability, you will pick it up. But in case you don't have either, you will see an issue, right? So is it going to be all hunky-dory? Probably not. But because people have been starved from shopping for a while, once the floodgates open, clothes are something that everybody likes to buy, right? It is your aspiration. It is your closest aspiration. And thus, people would definitely buy. Will it be a hoarding kind of a sale? I don't think so. But it will be more necessitated and it would be more to cover your aspirations.
Okay. Good. So I have another question. Sorry, there will be a lot of questions. So I'll be just squeezing. I will be squeezing all these questions. Another question is related to job opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. See, a lot of people are involved in manufacturing, buying house agent, client, retailers. A lot of people are involved. So, do you think, or that there will be a lot of loss of job, or is there anything that companies should think in some other way of retain those people so that that will be used in coming year. So what will be the effect of jobs in especially for in Indian perspective?
Okay. So we need to understand one thing, that none of us have deep pockets, right? Whether it is employers or employees. Yeah. Till the time the business is going on, there's a cash flow. There is definitely a ray of hope of retention. So these are basic laws and principles of work. Will there be opportunities? Yes. We need to understand that business is opening up. Clothing is our second skin. The requirement of clothing is obviously going to be there. The form and the nature is definitely going to change. So that is definitely going to change. We have to evolve. Every business is going to try to adapt new methods. They're going to try to adapt more digital platforms. They're going to try to adapt new ways and means. And people are the center of everything. So you would need people around. So I don't think so there is any insecurity in types of getting no job. But I think this is the best time to hone the skills that you don't have. So I just feel that this is the time when people can actually up their skills up, right? This is the time when they can read, they can do short-term courses, they can increase their knowledge bank, and thus be more suitable for the new age jobs, because it's going to be a new era.
Okay, thanks. There are 2-3 questions, I think I should combine and I should ask this question to Sanjay. The question is that India is manufacturing a lot of luxury items. So what will be the effect of this luxury item or sales in India as well as in manufacturing for export? Or whether these common people will invest any money for this luxury brand styles. So what will be the effect? What is the market shift? That is what is the question.
Okay. So if let's take a step back and talk about the pre-COVID era. Globally, luxury brands were growing at an average of around, I would say, 18 to 22%. So while the high street and budget stores were always kind of struggling, but luxury was growing at a pretty fair clip. As far as manufacturing of luxury goods in India goes, to my knowledge, and for exports, essentially I'm talking about goods for exports. Manufacturing in India is almost negligible. Most of these luxury goods honestly get manufactured in and around Europe, whether it's Eastern Europe or Spain, Portugal, Italy. Most of these luxury brands prefer made in Europe labels, and that's where most of these goods are manufactured. So for India per se, the effect of whether luxury grows or falls is not going to be steep, or it's not going to be very positive, because we really didn't have too much of luxury penetration in terms of manufacturing in the country.
Good. Thank you, Sanjay.
Yes.
So the next question I'll be asking Vaishali. This is related to e-commerce. So do you think that this pandemic actually has given the big opportunity to the e-commerce business? So most of the people, I mean, they will go for e-commerce business. So there is a shift of a brick and mortar style. And since you are also into e-commerce business, and what kind of product will be selling much more in e-commerce platform, that if you can give some glimpse out of this.
Okay, I would answer it a bit differently, Sanjeev. One, e-commerce is going to see an upscale and is already seeing an upscale. Why is that so? It's because today, with the kind of virus that we have around, we want to reduce the touch points. Does that mean that the other business, which is the brick and mortar, will survive or not survive? No, there is no question of it not to survive, right? It will survive, but it will have to up its game in a little different manner. It will have to reduce the touch points and it will have to take a different shape. The new era is coming in, right? So the reduction of touch points is very, very important. And at the same time, in India, we are very used to a personalized service, right? So there are certain things which are going to change in our life and our livelihood. They've already changed and we are going to see that change furthermore in the coming days. E-commerce will boom. Yes, it would boom. Tell me, how many orders do you place every day? You know, I'm sure we all do a lot of shopping online today because we don't want to be exposed to the various viruses. So the answer is such, it is not because you and me or somebody else is in the business. It's because that's the way to go today, because we want to reduce the touch points. We want merchandise to be delivered to us in a safe and hygienic manner at home. We know once we receive something, we can sanitize, as Sanjay rightly said, and, you know, put it in. Probably for exports, it takes 20-25 days for people to receive and the virus gives up. But in India, we are definitely being more cautious with our deliveries on the same. We have ensured that all factories follow the sanitization rule. Now, not without digressing, but your second part of your question was, apart from e-commerce, you asked me one more question, right?
Since what kind of product range, say for example,
Yes.
kids wear, infants wear, you know, which kind of product will be?
So it's going to be relaxed clothing. It's going to be loungewear. We saw an era where we moved from blue shirts and white shirts, formal clothing declined, and smart casuals came in. Now, smart casuals are probably going to be definitely be there, but loungewear is going to be a big time issue. You know, it is going to be there around. So, loungewear, home clothing in various sectors will definitely come in. This year, probably we'll celebrate festivals because we have the sentiments to celebrate festivals, but we will probably not wear clothes for others, but wear clothes for ourselves, which are far more functional, which are probably not as ornate, but more comfortable because we are in a homely environment. And thus, these changes are bound to happen. Whether they will sustain, is this short-lived or long-lived? Before somebody asks me the question, I would like to answer that. This is definitely the nearest future, but how long will this live will also depend upon how this pandemic goes across, right? And how soon we get the vaccine and, you know, we are safe and out of it. For example, I'll give you a very, very small example. There was in 1918, if I'm not wrong, influenza has struck, the German influenza, right? The fever. What happened? The complete definition of clothing changed. Suddenly the women had trousers and in trousers they had pockets. Until then it was a taboo. That pockets are only for men and they are not for women. Right? So functionality came in then as well. Functionality is going to come now as well. So it's not going to be any different. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, yes, you have answered. So now, audience, I will be taking only two questions, one for Vaishali and one for Sanjay. No more questions now. Hope, because we have already at 5 o'clock. So now the next question goes to Sanjay. Sanjay, this question is little different, but you know, one of our audience asked this question, so I should ask you. What about PPE kit product, that raw material? Do you think that suddenly we stop all normal clothing and we started making all PPE clothing? Do you think that there will be a huge shortage of PPE material in current month or current year in India? I don't know whether the right questions or not, but this question has been asked. Any idea about this?
Honestly, I do not have too much of experience with PPE. I have not dealt with the product either for exports or for the domestic market. But what I do know is that several mills, did get accreditation for manufacturing of PPE fabric. These were tested by Citra and other labs. and only then they were taken up for manufacturing of PPE kits. I do recall that at one point of time, there were just 4 or 5 mills, which the number did go up to about 22 or 25, if I'm not mistaken. So certainly with the number of mills rising and productivity there, I do not think there should be a shortage really of PPE material in the country.
So the last questions for Vaishali. Vaishali, why don't retailer or client, they don't reduce the margin? Earlier, $5 product, people used to sell at 20 to 30 US dollar. Why not to sell these on 10 US dollar to reduce the margin? Then indirectly, this will help all the manufacturer to come out this pandemic issue, and the consumer will buy more. So the question is there any chance, or is there any discussion with the retailer or client that to reduce the margin so that there will be more consumer buying? Any idea on this?
Okay. So Sanjeev, you have kind of posed the question in such a way that retailer is the only one earning and nobody else earns, right? Throughout the chain, which is not true. Which is just not true. So a retailer has a lot of overheads as well and a lot of things around. With the discounts which are coming in and people being price conscious, in order to adapt to the new era, we are definitely, all retailers, whether brick and mortar, e-commerce or any such, will definitely be more cost conscious, right? At every level. Whether it's a level of, hygiene, whether it's a level of maintaining things, whether it's level of efficiencies, whether it's level of processing, whether it's level of the product, because at the end of the day, the product gets loaded with a cost, right? So across the channel, I think there is going to be a pressure throughout. What I think you intended to ask me that will the end consumer get the right price? Yes, the end consumer has to get the right price. If any retailer can only sell better if the consumer wants to buy it. And till the time the retailer doesn't give the right price, maybe the consumer might not buy it, and vice versa, right? So there is always a combination of aspiration. It is not always the margin. It is about having the right product and a value for the product. So it just does not translate in the retailer's margin. There is a margin across, and I think everybody throughout the chain will have to get a bit more cautious in a short-term view.
Thank you so much, Vaishali. So we have now we will not take any questions now. We'll close this now with one-liner question. I'm audible?
Yes.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So one-liner question each of you. Why not to change this to apparel business to some other business? Is there any opportunity in this moment to shift this business from apparel to some other? Anything you feel it, you should do
Would
it.
you wear something else?
Yes, something else.
I like to wear leaves.
We can open medical shop. We can open sanitizer shop. Something. Why you do this?
Can you
Apparel
wear
business?
a sanitizer and be okay?
So is there any opportunity? So
Apparel
one
is the
below.
second skin for a human. I think Sanjeev is frozen, but I just feel that apparel is never going to go out of fashion, and it's always going to be there to live because it's our covering, right? It is our second skin. So it can definitely take various shapes and sizes and forms, but I don't see it going out of fashion at any given point in time. Until Sanjeev decides to wear leaves.
Or becomes or gets unfrozen.
Yeah. So I think we don't have much questions, so we can close. So before closing, I'd like to share that the next week we'll be organizing 2 more workshops. Those will be live workshops on the Friday, we'll have one workshop that is like you can learn how to calculate SMP using a PMTS software. So a participant can learn through this, like who will join this, organize this workshop, they will learn fundamentals of time system, and they'll learn about swing elements and get hand-on experience on SMP, how to calculate it, and they will get license without any cost or maintenance cost. So people who will join, they will get welcome gift of like as per them it is a 5 TIT, with which you can make like 5 garment. You can measure same of 5 garments, and the registration fee for this is 1,999, and for international participant it is $27. On Saturday we have workshop with Tuka Tech, that will be like 3D Tuka 3D visualization, and the price of the registration is same, like 1,999, and we have bulk registration for both this workshop. Like for 5 participants from same institute or organization, they can this is a 6,000 for 5 participants. So that's for announcement. So who is there today, they can join following the registration link. So now there is contact. So if someone want to contact Tantu, they can contact us using this email ID, communication@tantutextile.com, and we have a website. And you can also get the OCS online clothing study for like more information. So thank you all. So I think we can stop here. Sanjay, are you there? So I think we lost him. But thank you, Vaishali, and thank you.
Sanitization business.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all
So much.
Thanks,
participants.
Vaishali.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See you. Lovely meeting you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, he is there.